Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to take some time and take you along on the sigil embroidery project I made, which I'm very happy with. If you don't know what sigils are, don't worry. I have 3 videos on my channel discussing different methods on how to create your own sigils, so you can find one that works best for you. The witchy working I did today is for protection against anxiety, but that doesn't mean it has to be the same for you. You can transform this method however you like so it fits your purpose better. So the first important step would be to choose a sigil or create one. The sigil I used is very dear to me, and I explained in my last video in very much detail how I created it and what it means to me. So after creating your sigil comes the important part of placing it onto the clothing item you chose. This is very important because the placing can enhance the power of the sigil. For example, if you want to protect or influence your actions, you could put the sigil on the sleeve of your dominant hand. As you can see, this is not my first DIY project I did on this jacket. I already embroidered one of my sigil sequences onto the collar. I won't translate it, but I can tell you that I wanted it to influence my whole body. So where better place to put it than where our central nervous system comes together. For this working, I decided to put the sigils on both sides of my chest, and I will explain later why I chose it that way. After you decided where you want to place your sigil, you can collect all of the material. Of course, I put all of the material we will use into the info box. So first we need some fabric. I chose a green one because I associate green with nature, which is the most calming and grounding place I know. Exactly what I'm looking for with this tiny working. Next would be some needles, a normal one for embroidery, and some pins to pin our fabric in place later on. Next will be an embroidery hoop. This is the only one I have. If you have a bigger one or a smaller one, don't worry, it will work. Next would be some scissors. Doesn't need to be as gigantic as mine are. This one is specifically for cutting fabric, but a normal one will do fine as well. Next would be something to draw on the fabric, like this, which I don't know how it's called. If you don't own one of these tiny things, you can just use a regular marker. Next would be some regular thread. I used green again, but you are free to choose any color that corresponds with your sigil. You could also use multiple colors and just switch the thread after some time. And last would be some embroidery thread. Again, I chose green. Now, if you don't have embroidery thread, you can use regular one or draw your sigil on the fabric with a resistant marker. Now our first step is to secure the fabric into our embroidery hoop. That is very easy. You only need to open the hoop and place the bigger one on top and the lower one under the fabric. Now you just need to lock it in place and secure it again. I stretched my fabric a bit more because it just makes it easier to work with. Now that everything is in place, we can start embroider our sigil. If you want, you can draw your sigil onto your frame and just follow it while you're stitching. For this one, I didn't do this and just free-handed my stitching. So now we can start. I'm starting with a secure stitch. And to be 100% sure, I also knotted the ends. Now go ahead and just stitch your sigil onto my fabric. This doesn't need to look a certain way. We are not doing this to impress anyone. This is a working for us, and we should be comfortable with it. Here's the halfway point. I'm very happy how it's looking so far, and at that point I knew that my choice for the colors were perfect because they really complemented each other, and I felt a certain harmony when looking at them, which is of course very helpful because it has a certain soft balance which helps a lot when confronted with lots of stress and anxiety. Halfway through, I was visited by a little bug, but I was able to safely move it aside. I really enjoy embroidering. It's a very meditative form of art, and since I like to use art so much in my witchy practice, this one is a perfect example on how I usually work within witchcraft. And I really hope I can inspire others to bring more self-made DIY projects and art forms into their craft as well. So here's my finished sigil, and I'm very happy how it turned out. So after finishing your sigil, secure stitch again and cut the excess thread. If you know what the sigil means, you know exactly why. Even though it looks quite simplistic, it has a very deep and strong meaning, and I was perfectly able to capture that in my little embroidery project. Open your embroidery hoop and voila, the first half of our little DIY project is done. In the second step, we will mark down the shape we want our sigils to be. You can really get creative here and choose a shape that feels right. Now we just cut our fabric into the shape we decided to go for. Now we are ready to sew our sigil onto our jacket or another piece of clothing. The placement. So I chose this placement because I sometimes still suffer from anxiety, and the place where I feel the anxiety first is my chest. That's why I wanted the sigil to cover my whole chest to help me with the pressure I'm feeling. So after pinning it down, I just get my green thread again and we're ready to go. For step 3, we will sew our piece of fabric on our clothing item. You could do this on the inside like I did, or on the outside if that would work better with your sigil and what you want your sigil to achieve. Be careful not to pierce the needle through the whole fabric. I didn't fully succeed in this, but that's fine. I think it kinda adds charm to my jacket. After you stitch the first 3 sides, you could fill the little pocket you just created with some magical herbs, but this is optional of course. I sadly thought about this after I finished the project already. After you've finished sewing your fabric onto your clothing item, you're done. Voila, beautiful sigil magic you can take wherever you want to go. So I hope you like this tiny DIY and I could inspire you to use sigil magic in your everyday life. Thank you for watching.